and we were all like, we were talking. We were. The whole thesis was this idea of Bitcoin 2.0, right?
Yeah.
Remember that, Ty? Right?
Yeah.
So
we made we made the first videos about investing in Ethereum way back before everyone even. We interviewed Vitalik.
Yeah, we interviewed Vitalik, but that was already in March of 2014.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We were already talking about it in like NXT and the whole idea of Bitcoin 2.0, and you can look at our videos. Like when we first mentioned, look at your videos, right? When did you first mention Ethereum? I think it was back in I think it was like the first video was about NXT, right?
Yeah.
For like 2.5+ years already, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So we were already talking about that, the whole concept of of Bitcoin 2.0 and how we could build applications. And at that point in time, we were still talking about like features, right? We were talking about like features of remember that whole thing about the Turing complete, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just looking at your videos, and I'm trying to just see like.
Are you having like flashbacks? Are you having what do they call that?
Yeah. Well, we were already discussing like NXT really came up with like the idea of Bitcoin 2.0. That was already an idea that Mastercoin introduced. Yeah. Right. And this idea about what can Bitcoin do? We made this video in March about like Ethereum versus Bitcoin versus NXT.
Yeah,
and that was kind of our first video about Ethereum, right?
Okay, and that was back in March, right?
We made it in March, but the video about this whole idea of Bitcoin 2.0 was NXT. Remember we did that video? That was in December of 2013, and NXT launched, I think, in August of 2013 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we
No. The NXT launched in December.
It launched in December, but the ICO was, I think, in August or something like that.
Oh yeah, in August or October or something like that. It's earlier.
Something. It was earlier, a little bit earlier that year. Like we missed it, right?
Yeah.
But we all through the end of 2013, we were talking about like what can we build applications on top of the blockchain, and we were still trying to think about how we could bolt on like features onto Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. And we were all still thinking about like, NXTs, and we were talking about like, well, let's build this feature, and let's build, it was at the height of Mt. Gox, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
Kai?
Yeah.
We were talking about Mt. Gox and how maybe we could build this coin that could have a built-in decentralized exchange, so nothing, like another Mt. Gox couldn't happen again, right?
Yeah.
So we were all thinking about these features like, naming and messaging and how we could do all these things on the blockchain, right? Then Vitalik comes along and says, hey, why don't we build like this Turing complete? Remember that was all the rage back then?
Yeah.
About this Turing complete scripting language, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that ICO, that crowdfund was scheduled in January, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that because one of my friends was buying all these Bitcoins at 700, 800, because he wanted to get into this whole Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
And then remember they delayed it, right?
Yeah.
Like they were supposed to run the crowd sale in, I think, January, and that got pushed back to July of 2014.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So by March, when we made that video by March and we interviewed Vitalik, they already had a test net, right? They've already had done the proof of concept. They've already had done, like, they had this, like, beta or alpha code running, and where, like, they had, like, this test net running where you could actually write contracts and have it execute, but it was just a test net. It wasn't going to launch like it was all just make believe, right? Because they were going to just reset the network, after as they were developing it, right? But they already had that, and I think Ethereum was introduced at the North American Bitcoin conference in Miami, right?
Yeah,
I think that's when that was the first public announcement, right? And that was in, I think, December, and they were supposed to hold the crowd sale in January. They didn't do that, and what they did was they went on tour instead, right? They went to all the Bitcoin conferences. Vitalik and his crew went to all the Bitcoin conferences and started, basically giving interviews, promoting it, basically what we saw him do at the Texas Bitcoin conference in Austin. Right?
Yeah.
That was in. So he spent almost the whole year on tour, right? Working at conferences. That's one of the things he did.
Yeah, that was a smart move because he educated the public on it, and he also put a face onto Ethereum.
Yeah,
which is what the problem was with NXT. And we tried to put a face onto NXT with us at the Texas Bitcoin conference, but that didn't, have the same effect, because we only went to one conference.
Yeah, he did it. He was on tour all
the major conferences.
Right?
Yeah,
all the major conferences. He went to all of them. Him and his crew, right? Him and his team.
Yeah.
They had Stefan Tuol, who was the CCO, I think, which stands for Chief Communications Officer, right? So he was responsible for writing the blogs and communicating to the public on Reddit and all that stuff, right? And so it was really, the Ethereum didn't launch until July, right, Ty? Remember over the summer?
Yeah.
We would say, hey, it just launched. And, Kraken was the first exchange to make a market, right? And
I think so. I think
was it Kraken? I think it was Kraken to make was the first to open their order book, and Poloniex came later.
It's possible. I mean, it happens so close together that we really can't say. It really does not make that big.
It really doesn't matter. But I remember it was Kraken. I remember it was Kraken that made the first market, right? That actually made the first trade, right?
Okay.
I think it opened at $3 or something like that, and then it crashed, right?
Yeah.
And then it stuck around between 80 cents to $1 for most of the summer, right?
Yeah.
And it was pretty. I mean, the move didn't really start until December. This move that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Right.
I see.
So that's the timeline, David, as far as our history with Ethereum. So this wasn't the only shot I made. I mean, Ty and I, we took a shot at NXT, we took a shot at Ethereum, and I took a shot at Mastercoin.
We actually made
on Counterparty.
We actually made good money on NXT. It's just that we did not take profits.
We did not take profits.
Yeah, because if you got in at the beginning, you would have still made at least 4 or 5x or more.
Yeah, we were at 4 or 5x. Yeah.
So it's not like it. Yeah,
right?
It's just that we were not in a rush to take the money out.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, and then plus I had this idea all through 2013 about because I have this belief that these digital assets, let's call them, or cryptographically based digital assets, decentralized digital, that it's going to go into the trillions eventually, within the next decade or two. And so the key between now and then is picking the right one, right? It's getting in something, right?
Yeah.
Getting even a piece of something that becomes like the next Facebook of cryptocurrencies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
This is like
billions now. So
is like the .com boom all over again.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't just buy Ethereum and Mastercoin and NXT. I bought dozens of these things. I mean, with the understanding that most of these are going to be that most of these were crap, right?
Yeah.
I literally bet, like, I took like 10% of my Bitcoins and just bought dozens of different, like, Quarks and WorldCoin, all this crap, like 1 or 2 Bitcoins each. You know what I'm saying? And with knowing that I was probably gonna lose the money, right? Because I knew that the one I did hit was going to be so huge, and I just didn't know which one it was going to be, right? But yeah, that's to answer your question. That's the history of Ethereum,
right,
and how long we had to wait. So it was almost 3 years we were kind of in this mode of searching for a Bitcoin successor, you know?